Okay, Brad Davies and David Dilotti here with another episode of Sports and Sold. So we're talking sports and real estate. We'll start with a little baseball today because the trade deadline now has come and gone. And, you know, the Astros are still playing good enough, at least in the division that they're in. But there are so many interesting stories with this team, and a lot of them are off the field.
Yeah, the trade deadline. And here's the disclaimer: we don't know if this is true or accurate. Right. So we have to say that. But if it's true that Jim Crane vetoed a deal that Dana Brown had set up, that's a real indictment of how the organization's run, and it makes Dana Brown the assistant general manager. Again, if true. Now, if with regard to the actual trade, Dalton Varsho, no, he's not an impact player, but they're a better team now than they were before.
Sure.
That was my take on it. No, it was not a splash trade, but I think you got one more outfielder now has capability to get on base. He's a very good center fielder. You're a better team than you were before the trade. That's not the best I can say.
It's somebody who can contribute, and in that division, I'm not sure again exactly what kind of move you were going to make without hurting the major league team that could have been much more impactful, realistically.
And that's a good point. If the rule was we're not going to get rid of or trade any major league players,
right,
and we're not going to trade any of our real guys that we think are real top prospects, then this was the best you were going to do. Because they don't have a lot of young talent. And I guess they decided they were going to keep what little talent they had within the organization. Hard to disagree with that. I'm okay with that. If that was the game plan going in the trade deadline, then you shouldn't be surprised that the trade was not all that impactful.
Is there a favorite in the American League at the moment?
Right now you'd have to. Well, we'll see what happens when Aaron Judge gets back. But as of today, I guess you'd have to say the Rays.
Yeah, I think they're the most complete of all the teams in the American League for sure. Like I said, I think the Indians and White Sox have both gotten better. Those are teams to kind of keep your eye on in the future. I don't think that they're good enough right now. I think it's going to be probably one of the teams from the American League East that gives the Astros the most trouble. But we'll see moving forward. It's definitely not been boring this season, that's for sure.
All right, our real estate topic. In short, location, location, location.
It's not just a catchy expression.
Right, it's not. It is so critical to your choice, when you make your choice, buyers. And by that we mean not just, hey, this is a good part of town, hey, this is a good neighborhood, hey, this is a fun part of town. Whatever the case is, you have to be more specific when you analyze the home. And for example, and we each have stories about this. Well, I'll start with my story. Sure. I had some buyers that found the neighborhood they'd like to be in, great neighborhood, and they found the house that really fit their criteria. It was all about, it had everything that they wanted, except for one minor issue. It backed up to a shopping center. And so
that's
the home...
not a minor issue.
That's right. It was priced lower than the other comparable homes, significantly lower, so they thought, hey...
Let's jump on it.
We got the house we want with the things we want, the area we want at a lower price than what we expected to pay.
Yep.
And I kept pointing out, okay, if this is the house you want, the area you want, lower than the price you expected to pay, that's fine. It is my job to point out that you back up to a shopping center, and when you go sell this house, forget what you're going to have to live with while you're in the house.
Right.
Even if it's fine and there's no issues throughout your stay in the house. Once you decide you want to sell that house, guess what? You're going to have to price it lower than all the other homes in the neighborhood because of the location.
Yeah, and if they're okay with that, then that's fine. You know, we've done our job. But our job is to discuss how a shopping center in your backyard, for all intents and purposes, is going to not affect your enjoyment of living in the property as much as the resale of the property. I always tell people, look, you're going to buy it for less. But guess what that means when you turn around to sell it. You're going to have to sell it then less than a lot of your neighbors are. It's funny. I had a family years ago from Brooklyn came in, and they were backed to. It wasn't even an expressway or anything. It was a busy street, and they loved the house. And I said, man, it's I don't know if you're light sleepers or what, but you're right behind a road. You'll hear cars and motorcycles at all hours of the day and night. And they said, we're from New York. We hear that anyway. It's not a big deal. And I said, okay, that's fine if you can live with that. But in resale, In resale, it may bother, you could rule a whole portion of people out because you're backed to
You've cut your market
a busy
significantly.
road. You've cut your market significantly.
And I'll tell you one more, well, another one to be on the lookout for. Say you buy a home and there's nothing behind you, pasture, land, whatever it is. Try to find out what the plans are for that property. There may not be plans currently, but try to find out at least, is it a commercial project that may go up there? Is it a residential? So at the outset, you may, hey, great, no backside neighbors. All we have is a big old field back there. Well, that field is not going to stay a field forever.
Yes.
It's going to be developed, and it's in your best interest. You can't always know, but it's in your best interest. Well, it's actually our job to try to find out what potentially could go there. If it's more residential and you're okay with that, great. If it's not, red flag.
Yeah, so I had that exact scenario come up.
Really?
Again, a bunch of years ago. The exact scenario. It was in a little town. It was in Rosenberg, actually, and young couple. They loved the house, and I told them, I don't know what's behind you, but it's big empty space, huge empty space, and at the end was the road that kind of came into the neighborhood. So, what I'm thinking is, okay, I want to know what they're going to build there. So, we found out that it was owned by some kind of it was a real estate group. So they must have been into development, is what we figured out. But the problem wasn't, okay, are they going to build a housing neighborhood or a subdivision here, because there wasn't enough space. It was like you said, are they going to put a shopping center here? Could they put a storage facility here? They can put anything there. Well, the couple loved the house, and it was right in their price range. They bought the house. About 10 years later, they called to sell it, and I'm holding my breath.
Uh-oh.
I'm holding my breath when I'm driving to the house.
Yeah.
Nothing was in the field.
Okay.
So they end up selling the house. The day it closes, the sign came up. They were putting a storage facility behind. The day of closing, I literally went back after closing to pick up my sign, and it was a storage facility that was going up. So I don't know if the other agent who represented the buyer did their due diligence. Maybe they did. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But that worked out perfectly for my clients. But man, it was cutting it thin.
So I guess the moral of the story is make sure it's easy to know you probably don't want to be backing up to a gas station or a shopping center or be around the corner from some apartments that may not be that desirable. But the point is, do your due diligence beyond the obvious. Take a look around. What could come up around you that could not only impact your quality of life, but could impact your resale years down the road.
And let me add one thing to this too. Sometimes you find out, a church owns this land. And you think to yourself, okay, I'm okay being actually, that's kind of nice. I'm behind a church. I don't have to worry. The problem, or maybe a school, the school district owns a piece of land, and maybe at some point they're going to put some kind of facility or a building up there. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a sports field or a football field, a soccer field, that kind of thing. You don't know. So sometimes it's not necessarily horrible, but you still don't know what that's going to look like, because they could have huge lights that never turn off that are along. You don't have any control of that.
Right.
So I always tell people I am afraid of the unknown, because it's really hard to envision. Yeah. Even if it seems like it's going to be innocuous, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It could end up being a big deal in resale for sure.
Location, location, location.
It's not just a catchy phrase, that's for sure.